Hey everyone, hope everything is going well. Today we have a returning guest, Don. What's going on? Everyone's calling you back on, and this time you have a beard. What's going on, man?
Well, I think I had a beard last time too, didn't I?
Did you not as big as this? This is
The word I think is regal,
oh, okay.
majestic.
Gotcha. So yeah, like I was saying, I everyone was saying get Don back on, get Don back on. So it's a year. And you're telling me off air, if you had a way to short the sports card market, you would short it, but there was no such way to short the market. You couldn't even short Collector's Universe, which was made private. But yeah, what are your thoughts about the sports card market a year later after the podcast that we did?
Well, I don't know if you and I talked about this on air. I know that we talked about it off air. The grown men fighting in Target parking lots and things like that. The adults in the aisles at Walmart and Target and Costco fighting over cards. Did you not talk about that?
Yeah, I think we were talking about that. You may have mentioned that in the podcast. I have to review that. But yeah, there were just similar weird things going on. I was a kid at that time, but you were telling me this and just the oversupply and all that weird stuff.
I mean, that's just a sign of the top. I mean, I don't know if it's exact top, but when you have, Target, whose demographic is not the highest of IQs, you're not talking about the top rung of the ladder. The Walmarts and the Costco's, with no disrespect, I shop there too. But when they're telling customers you can't even buy sports cards at our establishment, and grown men again are fighting over cards, it's just not a good look. It's not a good sign. And I think that, a year later, I think that people realize on a lot of those things that they were sinking their life savings into, it probably wasn't a wise idea. And can I give you some specific examples of some players?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the Mac Jones hype, for example, there were cards you could have bought, Mac Jones cards very early on for 40 or $50. It went to 400, 500, then 4,000, 5,000. I know you've seen these cards.
The Donruss?
Excuse me?
Are you talking about the Donruss, the base?
I'm talking about any of his cards, especially the graded cards and especially the serial numbered limited cards that were going for thousands of dollars. Just go to eBay and you can see these auctions.
Okay, gotcha.
How would you feel right now having purchased those cards, say 2 months ago? I think you'd have to feel like a moron.
Yeah.
And, when you and I talked about the Zions, for example, and I haven't kept up with this, maybe you can tell me how those are selling. Are people still trading in their Lambos and their Hoes for Zion cards still?
Well, in the comments section, whenever you go after Zion, some of these guys come after you. I understand some people are very enthusiastic, some people that are friendly to me in the comment section as well. But yeah, a lot of people still are true believers in Zion. And if he's allegedly over 300 pounds, I mean, the only 300-pounder that I knew that was successful was Shaq, but this is a different ball game now. This is not giving the guy the ball to the center. The centers now shoot threes. So it's a whole different ball game than, back in the day.
Well, I think what I'm asking here is maybe a specific player might not be the right way to ask it.
Yeah.
I don't see when I look at prices right now, the sort of zane and nuttiness we saw a year ago. And I don't see people chasing some of the same sorts of players we saw a year ago. And I think there's something going on right now that I don't know if you've noticed, but the demographic of the person who would have been buying sports cards, say middle-aged goobers like me, there are people now who are getting into NFTs and cryptos in general, and trillions of dollars is going into that stuff. Something's got to give. You can't be buying your wacky packs and your garbage pail kids and your Dogecoin. There's only so many dollars that can go around. And I honestly believe, and I never thought I would say this. I don't see any reason at all to pick up hardly anything until prices come back to some sort of semblance of normalcy, even more than I did a year ago. There's so many ways that people can spend their money now in an instant. It just just pointing and clicking that you're not going to get with sports cards. So will there always be a group of people who want some of that cardboard? Well, sure, probably. But I'm curious what your take is on cryptos and NFTs and the dent they're going to place in the market.
Well, I don't follow this market intensely. I do follow Nassim Taleb. You probably have heard of him. And
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
talking about the black swan and then fooled by randomness.
Yeah, and the anti-fragile and all that stuff. And I follow him on Twitter. I don't necessarily agree with the things he's saying now, but he did talk about interest rate hikes coming and that affecting the crypto market. And I haven't followed interest rates and their effect on crypto, but if he's correct in all of this, and the Fed may raise rates, 3 times this year, potentially, based on the Fed funds futures. I mean, what's going to happen to that? And I thought that crypto went up like crazy from March of 2020 to sometime last year with all this increase in the money supply. And now the Fed is taking out $80 billion of treasury securities and $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities. They're no longer buying. So you take that liquidity out, then who's going to buy this stuff? Institutions?
Okay. So on that point, there was a time I think where that would have mattered. And by the way, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I could hear you totally fine.
Okay. I mean, there was a time when I thought that would have mattered more than it does. I think that the thing that is different now is that they can raise, let's say they raise rates to an effective 5%, which seems totally insane. I mean, that just seems like it'll never happen. Excuse me. That's offset by the $30 trillion they've printed. I mean, you could raise interest rates to 10 or 15%. Excuse me again. Water makes me burp, I guess. But you could raise interest rates to 10 or 15% back to like they were. Think about this, like they were in the late 70s, early 80s. And you would not even put a dent in the money sloshing around in the back pockets of these bankers. So I just don't know anymore. In fact, you and I haven't talked in so long that maybe you might sort of laugh at my sort of Zen attitude about all of this. I'm way less convinced of anything anymore. I think it's more likely we live in the holographic universe simulation than anything else right now. And I think when it comes to money, any argument you would make based on interest rates or the Fed, I don't even know how it applies. Look at a long-term chart of the velocity of money. Look at a long-term chart of interest rates and look at a long-term chart of things like labor participation and all this. There's to say that interest rates raising rates 3 times this year would even make a dent in the money supply. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the yield curve, and I still believe that when you invert the yield curve, you're going to get a recession. This even was before the pandemic. So, and a bunch of these recessions happen. So if they raise, the Fed funds rates closer to the 10-year, the whole system is going to come collapsing down. And not only sports cards, we're talking about crypto, the stock market, the commodities sector. I don't know what your take is on that, but.
Well, okay. So I sold my house last year. Did you know that?
Yeah, you told me. Yeah, we talked before Christmas, I believe, or Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so I got the high, the zenith of the market of all time. Now, I'm told I should have held on because prices are just going to keep going up. Yeah. But I have an axiom I try to live by, which is something at a price now that I would buy. Like would I have bought my house at the then price? The answer is no, I would not have. If I wouldn't buy it, I probably ought to sell it. Would I be? Hold on. You may have noticed car commercials now don't have prices of cars in those commercials anymore. You realize used to be they show prices of cars in commercials. Well, it's a little shocking to most people when you see that a Ford F-150, is it the Raptor or the Lightning, one of these, new Ford F-150s, it sells for close to $100,000. A Ford F1, go price a new car or a new truck or whatever. And would I buy these prices? No way. And I'm not talking like my grandpa from the 1930s. I understand that inflation creeps higher over time, but I also know what happened to prices many times in my life. And I can't see buying prices at all-time highs. Wait a second, not just on a real level, but in real dollars, but in inflation adjusted, in real dollars, I'm not buying at all-time highs. I'm just not doing it. So if I'm saying that, then to your point, there probably is going to be some correction of some sort, but I don't think interest rates are the catalyst for that, because I don't think interest rates have the power they used to have when effectively, well, let's keep it real. Effectively, interest rates aren't just zero. They're sub-zero. When banks are literally handed trillions of dollars, that is effectively like decades and decades of QE. And they just got it all handed to them in the last couple of years. So to your point, I do believe prices are overdone, but I don't think interest rates are what are going to drive prices lower.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting point. And, just going back to sports cards, you said that you still think that they're overvalued. And
absolutely, dude, absolutely.
Yeah, like the high end, I don't know if you follow Golden auctions. I think those prices are flat out insane. People are still paying ridiculous amounts. You're talking about all-time highs. People, in the comment section, they come after me saying that, the prices are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. But those are the guys, those are not selling.
I just want to remind people, if I can, just for a moment.
Yeah.
Most of those cards are junk. Okay. They make way more of it than way more of it than you would believe. And when you have one company ostensibly cornering the market on everything and putting out 100 different sets where there's a limited, card in each set, do the math on this. If you believe these cards are rare, check back with me in 20 years, because they are not rare. They are not some sort of, you haven't stumbled across some gold mine that no one else knows about. It may be in current year 2022, there are people paying through the nose for cards. Okay, fine. But that's not going to be how it always goes. It is. And the other thing is, people should put something in perspective. We're talking about cardboard with people's pictures on it that they're making in factories. If you don't think they're watching that and are very cognizant of the rabid interest in some of this stuff, then again, you're just smoking crack cocaine. Of course, these companies know what they're doing, and they're guiding people into the belief that these things are rare. But if you'll sidestep with me just for a moment, the NBA now runs commercials where they're hyping their NFTs, and I just want people to understand that when the transition goes from card in the real world to NFTs, it's not going to be a gradual thing. People are going to wake up one night and go, wait a second, you mean there's no market for this card I just paid $5,000 for a couple of years ago? Right. There's not going to be. Now, I don't know the day. I know that a lot of cards that I looked at a couple of years ago, they're cards, Rahul, you and I talked about the Net Pro tennis cards.
Yeah, they crashed. I got burned on that.
Dude, those Net Pro cards, those things were flaming hot. And I mean, scorchingly hot. And now I can't give away what I have, even at a dime a card on some of that stuff. So, be careful. I mean, you can believe. Listen, you believe whatever you want to believe, but for those of you who are too young to remember a life before being attached to a smartphone, baseball cards have been around for longer than any of us have been alive, and there are cards that are really, really rare that you'll never buy anywhere, and you can get them graded PSA 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Some cards in the 40s and 50s and 60s that aren't selling for fractions of what these cards are selling for now. That's going to change. It just is. I'm sorry. And you can hate me. You can leave the comments and make fun of me and how ugly and old and dumb and my stupid looking my beard is. That's fine. Talk to me in 20 years.
So you do talk about, okay, you want prices to come down lower. So what are you going to be looking at that moment, whether it be a few years from now, 5 years from now, a decade from now? Like, what cards are you looking at? I'm potentially looking at individuals who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think we had this conversation a while back, and I was looking at Brady's, Rodgers, but those cards are just on fire. Manning. So I'm looking at tier 2 guys. Those are not winning MVPs all the time. I'm still looking at, Eli Manning. I picked up a PSA 10 for under $30. So long term, I'm still bullish on that.
An Eli Manning rookie?
Yeah, 2004 rookie. I don't know how I got it, but it was like a tops total. It wasn't the best rookie, but it's a PSA 10. So I'm like, okay, it cost me about close to $40 to get it graded. And if I'm lucky to get a 10. So if I could get the slab under 40, I consider that a victory for a guy who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. So that's my strategy now, even though prices still aren't where, I'd like them to be, but I'm just looking at things under the radar. What would you look for when we get back into this?
I mean, if you're looking at sports cards, you want to go the opposite direction of Logan Paul and his Pokemon cards. You want to go to something that if you can assign a value to cards, you want blue chip players, you want Hall of Famers, you want players that are household names such that even your mom and your grandma and your sister know their name at what you would consider a discount, and you want it graded, and you want it in the off season. You don't want to be like, right now is not really the time to be trying to pick up some Hall of Famer cards for football. Baseball probably is a good time. And you do want to go for those graded cards that people are giving away, and you got to be patient. And that's, if I could give anyone any advice, it would be make a list of players you want, and 5, 10, 20, 30 players, and look for them graded PSA 10. I wouldn't fool with anything but PSA. I don't know how you feel about this, but PSA, whether you like it or not, they're the gold standard. So I would go with PSA 10, and I'd go with the blue chips. I'd wait for the off season. I'd be patient. Go for the buy it now auctions, for example, where they're accepting offers. And I swear to you, you cannot believe what you'll find if you offer people like crazy low prices. I have gotten stuff that I thought there's no chance this guy's going to sell me this card, and he does, at like 75% off of what he's asking. Do those things. And I'll give you something else. Now, this is morbid, and I don't want to, change the topic and to be, a downer here, but go online and search for celebrities who are still alive that are in their 90s. I'm not joking about this. And go look. And a lot of those have Leaf Americana autograph cards, or there's cards that a lot of these folks signed some way, shape, or form over the years. And find those cards of celebrities that are, again, household names, and find those on the cheap. I picked up some cards recently, dirt cheap, and I'm not trying to be morbid, but when they're gone, they're really gone. And the value of those can sometimes go tenfold overnight.
Yeah, I always thought about, do I want to buy individuals that are soon going to pass away? I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Even though that's an easy way probably to make money, once they pass away, you have it, buy it now on eBay as a sale. People are going to just rush into it, just like they have for many celebrities. Bob Gibson, a lot of people bought his cards. They had Joe Morgan, Cincinnati Reds second baseman. He passed away. People rushed into his cards. So yeah, people do that. And I understand, it's a business. I choose not to do it. But
well, I mean, I'm going to defend this just for a moment, because I mean, if you buy, Tom Brady cards, and let's say that no matter what Tom Brady does, if you have his rookie card and it's graded the day he dies, whether you like it or not, that card is tripling, quadrupling. I don't know what it's going to do. So I'm not suggesting that you ambulance chase or anything like that, but I'm saying that there's a lot of real, actual, rare autographs out there that you can pick up of folks that don't hardly ever sign. But here's the deal, and let me expound on this a little bit further. These are, when you look at these celebrities and politicians and things like that, if they're on cards by major companies, those are the only cards they have. They're not in like multiple sets every year. You can't get like a 2010, 9, 8, 7 auto. Some of these cards appear once or twice, and that's it. So I'm just saying they're rare. They're, real autographs, and they're celebrities, and you can get some of those dirt cheap. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. That is definitely true. All righty. Back in the day, we used to always talk about gold and silver. So I'm gonna invite some of my old friends to this podcast. Not podcast, but I'll share the link with this. So, what are your thoughts on precious metals? Segueing to that topic.
Well, it's hard, Rahul, because on one hand, I see the intrinsic value story, and there is the inflation thing and all that. Although I'm kind of backing away from the inflation hedge thing. The more I look at that, it may be just they may be correlated, but not causally related. I don't know. But the issue of gold and silver, what haunts me is that guys like Chris Dwayne can still have pictures of his pregnant wife slapped on a coin.
Wait, he's still doing that? He's still.
Well, I mean, making coins. I don't know if it's his wife or not, but I'm saying.
Gotcha.
You get the drift. I mean, and if you go to APMEX or a lot of these retailers, there's Superman and Scooby-Doo and all this sort of stuff, and just go look. I mean, if it's really rare or there's really investment grade, if it's really an investment, strip away the fact that it's precious metals. Would you be buying that sort of stuff? And if it's so rare and so hard to find, how they have enough to make all these commemorative issues? And there are just tons and tons of these things. So I think that there is value there, but I just don't know to what extent it's there, because it just seems too easy to think, well, I'll just go buy gold and silver. And so I'm kind of backing away from some. I mean, I own some, and when I can find graded coins on the cheap, like I got some silver eagles this year for 39 or 40 something. I thought was a pretty good deal. But in terms of just going out and stacking the fizz.
Yeah. I think the quality is the silver eagles, which have a crazy premium over them. So I think those were like really expensive way back when, but then those have just gone up while the price of silver has, maintained lower. And speaking of silver eagles, I started looking into some graded eagles from 1986, which I believe was the first year, the same year as MJ. I don't know how much you've looked at this, but I also noticed that they didn't know that a bunch of them were minted in San Francisco, and not, I believe it's on the East Coast of the country. So there was basically a problem with the labeling, and most of the silver eagles that are graded are not labeled correctly. So do you think that there's an opportunity potential in graded eagles the first year? You were talking about sports cards, you look at rookie cards, and now if you look at the NGC 69 or I think it's the PCGS or whatever it is, 69 or 70, the higher end, are you into that, or do you think that's?
Well, no, no. Well, I am in, for me, it's always going to be MS70, MS69.
Yeah.
Now on older coins, you're not going to find that, but anything new, I'm getting MS70 if I can. Yeah. Here's the problem. The problem is, and we haven't even talked about Logan Paul. I was hoping we'd talk about Logan Paul.
we could definitely get back to the Logan Paul.
Yeah. So, but sure. The problem is once the story is out, then you and anyone who needs to know it knows it, and you and anybody who has deeper pockets than you have and all sorts of access to information and sources. So any of those stories after the fact, I don't know that I would be investing in. It's like when people talk about investing in error cards and things like that. There's that Billy Ripken card that's got the FU on the
the F face or something like that.
I mean, how much value is there? I mean, what
it's like the Frank Thomas no name baseball card that people used to spend. That was the card before the pandemic, and now people forgot about. the Frank Thomas card. People are
Yeah.
looking at that. There are people that are willing to pay $225,000 for a high-end LaMelo Ball card when people didn't even buy a Michael Jordan PSA 10 for that money before the pandemic. I just find it insane.
So, boy, you've said a whole lot there. I'd like to mention. First of all, when I saw that Eminem, and this is sort of random, but when I saw that Eminem bought an NFT, it was a picture of a monkey. Have you seen this?
No, I have not.
Eminem's avatar on Twitter, last I checked, this is over like a week or so ago, was a picture of a monkey he bought for $500,000. Now, this world has gone completely insane. $200,000. Let me put this in perspective, okay? Please hear me out on this. If you have $200,000 to spare, and I think you and I talked about this last time, and I'm not joking about this, you could fly, not LaMelo, but Michael Jordan to your house. And then Michael Jordan would sign whatever you had in your living room, have dinner. He might even cook dinner for you. And you could have the rarest of all collectibles. Michael, he might even
say, wait, let me ask you this. Would PSA deem that card as authentic? Because I've gone online, sent emails.
No, hold on. I'm not finished.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
PSA and you could get PSA and BGS and whatever other grading companies you want, you could fly them all out to your house and have them in person authenticated for $225,000. So you could start your own card company, and you could endorse players to sign for you for that kind of money. It's ridiculous. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't know if this is the top, but doesn't this feel a lot like the .com? I mean, right towards the top with when I can remember once when I saw a commercial for pets.com, I thought, wait a second, we're delivering goldfish through the mail. What's happening here? So I don't know. This just feels a little nutty. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, ever since 2020, when we were stuck at home, or I was stuck at home and couldn't go to the city. And then you had basically a movie production, what was going on in our society, stores 10 minutes away, they were getting robbed. This is not only in my town, this is all throughout America. You have, crazy events going on in November of 2020. And then sports cards kept me, sane. And then now, you see these zany prices. Reminds me of the housing market. I don't remember the tech bubble as you do. You're obviously older than I am. I was just, middle school.
Hey, easy. I'm not as old as you think. My beard does age me.
No, so I'm not saying
anyone watching, I'm not as old as Rahul. What?
I'm not saying
Did you call me a?
No, I'm not saying you're definitely a boomer.
No, okay.
No, you're not a boomer. I know that. Yeah, I know that's an offensive term these days for some.
But it's funny. My kids used to, whenever I'd say something that they thought was dumb, which is everything I say, my kids would go, "Okay, boomer," and I just said, it'd be funny if it was accurate. I guess it's not accurate. I'm not, but whatever. Anyway, to your point, you make a good psychological point, because there was a time when we were all sitting around and locked into our houses, where cards held a little bit more interest. And I know you'll probably get some haters on this video, maybe, who comment about how I'm an old guy, I don't know what I'm talking about, and you're dumb or something. You don't know what you're talking about. I would just say, anyone who thinks that this cycle is normal and sustainable hasn't been through all the bubbles we've been through.
Yeah, we went through gold, a decade ago. You remember that.
Gold, silver, oil, real estate.
And silver. You were on Yahoo Finance. So,
well, that by the way, that is pretty funny, isn't it? Because the week I was on Yahoo Finance, I got so much hate. You have no idea the hate.
Yeah, you used to tell me, people used to harass and stalk you.
You cannot believe that, and it's funny because, like you. Okay, here's where you and I have something in common. we like sports cards. In fact, today I got Davis Hall rookies in the mail today, and I got the wild card, 2021 wild card, but they were of 7. They were only, in fact, I got 2 of the 7. So I'm trying to get all 7 of whatever, this card is. I buy cards all the time. You do too.
Yeah,
we like the hobby. I'm not saying don't buy cards. I'm saying, I'll tell you something. I meant to mention this a minute ago. You have to be some sort of mental small person. I got to be careful. This is 2021. I got to be.
Yeah, this is YouTube, right? You don't want me to get banned.
I don't want you to get banned. You have to be mentally not super adequate if you're buying quote autograph cards with those stupid clear labels. That I cannot believe people have been hornswoggled into buying that crap. I will never buy one. I will only buy autographs that are on the card. Sorry. So
I usually buy autographs that are authenticated by PSA, but
so you don't buy autographs on card autograph?
No.
Okay, well I do, and if I do, they've got to be on card, not. Anyway, so I'm digressing big time here. Let's talk about Logan Paul because I really do want to.
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna get cut off based on my software, but let's talk about Logan Paul. So. What the hell happened? Was Logan Paul trying to like troll people, or he just he got refunded $3.5 million, but
no, I don't think it was a troll. When you have that kind of money to throw around, it was a good gamble on his part to get the views that he got, and he probably it was probably insured. There's no way his financial advisors let him just buy that without having insurance on it. And the person he bought it from probably also held the money. And there was a lot behind the scenes that no one knows up front. But it absolutely, it made that grading company look like complete idiots. I don't know. In fact,
I don't know how much of the video was edited, because like you're saying, it made the BBCE guy look like an idiot. Right. And I don't think he's an idiot. I've exchanged emails with him before, but he is the expert in terms of, all the Fleer 86 cards and all the baseball cards and football cards, vintage stuff, factory seal boxes.
Well, but I don't have a lot of, I'm not going to give him the same slack you're cutting. I'm not going to cut him the same slack because he hitched his horse to Logan Paul. He knew what he was doing. He knew why he was doing it. He figured this would get me some pub. This will just, this will be an awesome way for people to get our name out there. And instead, he ended up looking like an absolute moron. I mean, and then the videos coming, there was one guy doing videos. I don't know his name. He wears a hat with a letter R in it. And maybe you've seen this guy.
Maybe.
Who was just ripping these guys apart because before the deal was even done, he was telling people these cards were fake. It was all fake. And he was showing them why.
The Pokemon channel, that guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I didn't watch the video. I've heard of that video.
So I think all of it was contrived. I think that Logan Paul knew what he was doing. He figured he's not going to lose any money. Look, if you see the video, he does not look like the guy who just lost $3.5 million. There's no way he was ever on the line for that money. It was insured, or he had some deal with the guy.
He would have been losing his mind if he lost $3.5 million. Like, just knowing a person like that. I mean, if you saw the Mayweather and his antics with him, I mean, that was nuts. I refused to watch the fight because of that, even though he's a good boxer from what I've heard, for him not being a professional boxer. But it just, he would have been flipping mad. The guy that it's the second guy is probably going to get screwed over because I don't think he's going to get refunded in full. He may.
No, again, if they don't have insurance, if they have not in some way insured this, they just deserve. They've played stupid games and they're going to win stupid prizes. If you don't, so I have to believe that Logan Paul definitely had insurance in some way or had some deal. I think it's all contrived, like I said, and I think it made for good theater. but it really underpins a flaw in the industry when it comes to grading. You really don't know what you're getting. And this is not the only thing. This is not the only scandal we've seen. Um, these companies, you got to take with a grain of salt what you're getting. And that we go all the way back to the very beginning of our conversation. You spend the kind of money people are spending on this, you better have it inspected and graded again and have more than one expert. Listen, if you spend $225,000 on a card, I'd spend $10,000 getting that thing verified. And there's no way out. So the average guy can't do that. And that's why the average guy gets burned. I've been burned. You've been burned. We've all been burned. And I think that the Logan Paul story is just a cautionary tale that you can get burned at the highest levels. If Logan Paul can spend 3.5 million and have that kind of thing go down, you can too, and you better be careful.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Do you think BBC?
And you know I'm right because I'm old.
You think BBCE's reputation is finished? I mean, I'm seeing some strong auctions right now in Golden, but what do you think? Do you still think people are going to go to him, or not with Pokemon?
Well, in the short run, in the short run, it's gonna hurt in the short run. But there's such a backlog of these companies. They're turning business down. So let's say that they lost some business from this. They still have other business that'll make it up. And there's lots of apologists for it anyway. And I've seen apologies for it. So you'll get a lot of people who look the other way and don't care. And because people they want things graded and authenticated, and they don't really care, let's be honest, if they're actually authentic. They don't care if it's actually the grade that it actually is. They just want something they can slap that label on and say, well, this justifies a 10-fold premium or whatever. That's all this is. And in that environment, you're going to get burned at some point. Someone's going to get burned. And I'll tell you what, and do a little research on this. The number of fake autographs and fake memorabilia floating around eBay is astronomical. It's
graded memorabilia too, or not
graded and ungraded. You go to Google and do a little research on this. I don't know what the exact number is, but there's some crazy percentage of items that get sold in these auction sites are totally fake. But again, that's the chance you take with buying pieces of cardboard.
PSA said that if it's an authentic slab, they're going to reimburse you if you're holding the bag per se.
Okay, so check this out. Let me ask you this question. All right.
Yeah.
Let's say there's a card that was graded, and the card was graded, 100,000. It was selling for $100,000.
Yeah.
Well, we know that with the Logan Paul situation, they didn't do their due diligence like they should have. And in fact, the everyone in the video, the one guy said, we've all been duped or whatever. So let's say there's $1 million on the table. I think for $1 million, I could figure out a way to fake everything, including a PSA slab. I'll just be honest with you. I have a feeling that could be faked. I don't believe that.
Don't they have some sort of technology within each slab as a?
Well, sure. Oh, yeah, yeah. If you check up on it, when was the last time you bought a card on eBay and you went and checked out at their website and made sure that it was the graded card that you supposedly bought? What percentage of cards do you buy that come slabbed, and then you go and you take that code and you go to their site and make sure it's real?
Maybe 5-10%.
Okay, well, I think you're high. I think most people don't even do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, with that kind of money on the line, there's a lot of fraudsters out there who would be very. And on this note, I hate to really go off on a tangent here, but there's a show called, I think it's called Fake or Fortune, and look this up. It's these folks over in England who authenticate paintings to see whether, so someone will say, I think I've got a Rembrandt, and they'll do the research to find out it was a real Rembrandt. Like, it may even be signed, who knows? But forging paintings is actually easier than you would suspect if someone can paint. And there's fascinating documentaries on painting painters that are good forgers. And again, when there's millions of dollars on the line and a public that wants the product and auction houses who want the money and they want the traffic, it's a perfect storm, is what I'm saying, for people to be duped and enjoy the process of being duped along the way. That's all I'm saying.
So, like, you think the sports card market, I'm going to tie this, what you're saying. You're saying the market still is overvalued. So wouldn't it be fitting that maybe a year and a half from now, you see a huge scandal with one of these grading companies and one of these auction houses where a bunch of the maybe cards are deemed not authentic, and then people are like, what the hell do we do? Should we keep on buying? And then there's already frustration right now in the sports card market, I could tell, for various reasons. And then that, and then the economy, and then the whole charade just blows up.
So you're onto something there. And I love what you just said. That's a great point. And I think what's interesting about that too is the timing of it. It won't happen now. It happens when all the rats on the ship are trying to jump off. When the market implodes, that's when you're going to see people, screaming about their faked or forged or not authentic. The scandals happen at the bottom. They don't happen at the top. The scandals aren't going to mark the top. Scandals are going to mark the bottom. And we saw this in the equity world. Back in the .com meltdown. We saw this in 2008, 2009. We saw a lot of companies in 2000, I guess 9 and 10 with a lot of these commodity companies, natural gas and all that. So I think you're onto something. And I think that that might be the time to really go all in. When maybe the guys fighting in the aisles at Target was a sign at the top. A sign at the bottom will be lawsuits, and we're not there yet. But I think you're breaking a very good point.
Yeah, and then one last thing is we remember silver and gold. A lot of silver channels disappeared. I'm starting to see a bunch of channels on sports cards starting to disappear. The YouTube All-Star Flippers aren't doing their content; they're just posting their cards on Instagram right now. And and the silver and gold, that was a different story. A lot of channels were being demonetized, and some were shadow banned YouTube, but that's a different thing. But similar thing though, they were getting kicked off, and then now some of the sports card guys are getting
No, what it is the low-hanging fruit is what they want. If they have to work for it, if they go through a period where things are rough and it's not easy money, then the grifting will slow down. So a lot of those guys, and I could mention names and you would know them, and I'm not going to give them any credit by mentioning their names. A lot of these guys that were, pumping and dumping that stuff did disappear, and a lot of them went to crypto. And by the way, shamelessly, total. And here's what's ironic about it. A lot of these charlatans, when it came to precious metals, that quit doing precious metals and went to crypto, their followers would so I don't want to mention any names, but let's say there's a guy
first name Andy. We're not going to mention his last name.
First name Andy. There you go. Right. So that guy actually built up a following with the same shtick, the same hype, the same garbage as it was with precious metals, and then it was on to crypto. And
I used to interview him, by the way, but And
did I ever tell you that he emailed me?
He got into a fight with you or whatever.
He said he was going to come beat my ass or something like that. And I was like, dude, I'm not kidding. He really sent me an email because I was doing all these videos, just hammering this guy. Right. And he emailed me and said he was going to come beat my ass. And I said, well, here's where I live. Come start. Here it is. Come start beating. And he never showed up. He never came to beat my ass. So
and then he went off on SGT one time, and it was just weird. And
by the way, SGT got banned from YouTube, right?
Yeah, because he talked about the letter Q. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah.
Wow, that's so. To your point about the channels disappearing, I was on YouTube. I had probably a good 10-year, let's see, I started in 2006. So I guess a good 6-year run or something like that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of reasons, it got old and I didn't like it. And I'd never made any money with it anyway. So I stopped doing what I was doing. And I got no problem with people doing that. But it's interesting watching the same shtick go from one thing to the next. And in full disclosure, I'm surprised we don't see some of those guys hawking sports cards. To be honest with you,
sports cards. I mean, I'm talking sports cards.
I said hawking. I said hawking.
Oh, okay. Just like pumping and dumping or whatever. Yeah, right, I get what you're saying. No, I truly love sports cards. But you have to remember a bunch of these gold and silver guys, a lot of them, they don't like sports. I remember one guy who used to comment on my video, Stacking Gems. He is one of the guys that's into gold and silver, but I don't know anyone that, I mean, you've heard of probably Charles Fuchs. He used to maybe comment on your videos.
Yeah. Wow, that's it. Now you're going back in the past. He comments on my
videos all the time. But
is he still around?
He does a lot of Marvel collecting and sports cards. Collecting. Yeah, he's pretty chill.
You know, right on. Yeah. So
like, he's the only dude that I remember from back then. That
listen, you have no idea. I actually did videos in 2008 and 9 and 10 and 11 talking about sports cards. Yeah. I did videos talking about. I did one video showing people how to go to eBay and I've been collecting sports cards since I can't remember when I first started. You know, I've done sports card shows. Yeah. I've been a dealer. I mean, I've been involved in sports cards at really every level. I'm not negative on sports cards. It's weird. It's like when I was talking about precious metals, I'd say the same thing. I own precious metals. I'm just not buying at all-time highs. That's all this is.
Exactly.
You know. So, and by the way, I'm so glad you're still doing videos. You were always one of those guys I liked watching and listening to. You had your head on straight, man. I mean, you weren't as sexy as some of those guys. I'll be honest with you. You didn't, but you definitely have done a good job, and I hope that your audience continues to grow if that's what you want.
Yeah, I'm doing the sports cards now. Try to combine, some of the gold topics, investment markets into this channel. And then, no one wants to watch gold videos anymore, or silver videos. So I'm like, I'm going to combine it all into this AIH sports channel.
You know what's interesting about those gold videos is looking back on it. That was an audience that was, first of all, a lot of them are gone now. Think about this. I mean, let's say there were guys in
your
their
buddy,
50s.
Rod Doglatar still does videos.
He comes and goes, but he's not gold and silver, is he? Because I thought he got off of gold and silver. Whatever.
I don't know what he's on now.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the guys that would have watched us a decade ago, some of them aren't here anymore, but the ones that are, man, if you're still watching video after video that says the dollar is going to collapse tomorrow and the only way to save yourself is to keep stacking the fizz, man, just a terrible life that I'm serious. I mean, that's another reason why I don't do that anymore. I don't talk about that stuff. I never wanted to in the beginning anyway. Yeah. And just the ethos around those people is so depressing. I mean, look, okay. Yes. The two-party system paradigm is fake. We all live in the matrix. I know. I understand all of that. Now that we all know that, there's other things to talk about other than, Biden is the Antichrist. I get it. I understand, but we can talk about something else. And on that point, did you watch the games yesterday? Speaking of non-Antichrist, did you watch the games last night?
I watched 2 of them off and on, and then I was out of the house for the Chiefs game.
Well, I just have to say that watching Ben Roethlisberger last night was hard to watch.
Yeah, I watched part of it. I'm like, oh man, he was great for Pittsburgh. When he won those 2 championships. But he's done. Yeah, I felt bad, but. He had a great career, and hopefully he gets into the Hall of Fame.
he's got $100 million in the bank or something like that, and he's not hurting for money.
Yeah, I mean, he's
But
lucky.
watching,
by the way, sorry to interrupt. He's lucky to be alive. If
yeah,
you remember that motorcycle accident from what 2006.
yeah, I mean, but that was his rookie year, wasn't it? Or
I don't know. It was early on. It was early on. It was like 2006, 2007. I don't remember.
Well,
it was a long time ago.
You know, you don't want to use the word warrior when it comes to football. They're not warriors. They're not like, you know, heroes or something like that. They're not like, you know, out there fighting for our freedom.
Inspirational. You have to admit that.
But it is, you know, it is inspirational to see people work hard and to try to do their best. And Roethlisberger said at the start of this year he would play for free. He just wanted one more shot. And, you know, the Teddy Roosevelt man in the arena speech that's what I gravitate to all the time. I tip my hat to Ben Roethlisberger. He had some off-field issues, some more serious than others, but he went out there, gave it all he had, laid it all on the field. And last night, and I think in a game that a lot of people might think was embarrassing, I didn't think that. I thought it was a warrior stepping down. And again, not to use the word warrior, but in the arena of football, it was good to see a guy go out there and give it one more shot. And so I tip my hat to him and wish him the best. But it was a kind of a sad thing to see, because watching the Chiefs just pound them was just pretty sad.
So, yeah. Yep.
Oh, well.
Yep. All righty, Don. Thanks for coming on. Anyway, people can follow you, or is just my podcast whenever you come on?
Well, let's see.
I think you do some guitar things on YouTube, right?
Well, I'll let you know when I've got some more multi-level marketing scams, or I've got some bronze or aluminum tokens I can shill out. But until I can come up with some other scheme, you'll just have to, you know, I just come on and talk about sports cards.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on again, man.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor, and I don't know if anyone really ever asked to have me on, but if anyone, even one person, said they wanted me back, I appreciate it. Thank you, and good luck to everybody. I hope everyone's safe. We didn't even talk about what's been going on, but what's going on is real. The struggle is real, my friends. This is not a joke. We're living through some very hard times, and I hope that everyone stays safe, and just keep your wits about you, because we're going to come out the other end somehow. This will get resolved somehow, and life is going to get better than it is now. I don't know when, but it will.
Hopefully by 2026, 2027, everything comes back to normal.
Hopefully by this summer.
Hopefully by summer things open up back up, but then, you know, this whole market's still at an all-time high. That's the thing.
So I'm in my trailer. I bought a trailer this year, and I bought a van, an E350 van that can pull a tank. I mean, it's an incredible engine, but I'm in this trailer right now, and the weather needs to warm up a little bit. And then my wife and I want to hit the road, and I'd like to go to every state, and I would love to come to where you live, wherever that is, and hang out with you. And
yeah,
I'm serious.
Sure. For sure.
So
let's definitely meet up.
All right. All right. Well, Rahul, thanks for having me on. I always love coming and talking with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.